The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
And now to some breaking news from overnight. A 16-year-old boy is recovering in the hospital this morning after being shot by Bakersfield police officers. Officials with BPD say they received a 911 call from the teen around 10:30 last night, saying that he was going to harm others. An officer responded to the area of Pensinger Road at Buena Vista Road. That's where he confronted the teen, who police say was armed with a knife. According to police, the officer tried to use a taser at least once before opening fire.
That the officer involved was wearing a body camera, as has been our policy since the advent of body cameras. We will release that footage when the investigation allows us to do so.
No officers were hurt in the incident. The teen's condition is described as stable. This is now the third officer-involved shooting of the year in Kern County. Just last week, sheriff's deputies shot and killed a man they say was trying to take another person hostage. It happened on the corner of State and Pierce Streets Wednesday afternoon. Officials say the suspect in that shooting was also armed with a knife.
And that is the latest on coronavirus in Kern County. Public Health announced more than 1,400 new cases yesterday. Keep in mind that counts cases from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 16 new deaths were also reported, bringing our death toll to 2,074. State data shows 198 people hospitalized with the virus in Kern County, 43 more in the ICU.
Our time now is 5:04, and the California Department of Public Health announced yesterday the state may be approaching less stringent masking requirements. The news comes as parents here in Kern County prepare to protest masking in schools. 17's Chris Burton joins us in studio this morning with more. Good morning, Chris.
Alex, good morning. Today, February 15th, we'll see the first of the state's masking requirements expire. Vaccinated Californians are now strongly recommended, not required, to mask up in indoor public spaces. Officials are cautiously optimistic that more changes could be coming.
Masks will stay on in California schools, at least for a few more weeks. That was the focal point at the California Department of Public Health's COVID update yesterday. But Secretary Dr. Mark Ghaly says the state has set a date to reassess that requirement.
On February 28th, we anticipate being able to give a date when the masking requirement will move to a recommendation.
Ghaly says the next 2 weeks will be spent interpreting trends at the state, national, and global level. But the data, he says, is increasingly supporting slight relaxation of restrictions.
Masking requirements were never put in place to be there forever. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
The announcement comes as parents across Kern County prepare to protest those requirements. Posts circulated on social media encourage parents to attend board meetings across the county Tuesday. Rosedale Union, one district singled out by these posts, has a history of conversation surrounding masking at board meetings.
We're just advocating for mask choice. We're not asking for them to remove masks completely.
In the spring, I had to choose to not work because some of my coworkers didn't take COVID seriously. I don't want to have to do that again.
Ghaly said in the update that though the mask requirement may change, masking is still highly recommended as an effective method of controlling the spread of COVID-19.
Ghaly also mentioned that once the statewide guidance relaxes, local authorities might still enact restrictions. Local policies may not be less stringent than the state, but they can be more stringent. In studio, Chris Burton, 17 News.
Chris, thank you. Meantime, a spokesperson for the California Republican National Committee says forcing students and teachers to continue masking up in school goes against science and is hypocritical. The statement from Hallie Balch reads in part, for 2 years, children have been forced to forego a natural learning environment and have had their personal growth stymied because of out-of-touch mandates. With hundreds of pictures of celebrities and lawmakers ignoring the rules at sporting events, every Californian should be enraged that Democrats change the rules for their friends, yet force children to continue to suffer.
This morning, law enforcement is still on the lookout for an inmate who walked away from the Bakersfield Community Reentry Program. I want to show you a photograph of 26-year-old Dylan Warren. Officials say he was discovered missing from the Male Community Reentry Program facility sometime around 6:30 Sunday evening. He is described as being 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing 209 pounds. He was wearing a black jacket, dark pants, black shoes, and a gray beanie. Warren was serving a sentence for burglary. If you know where he is, call 911. This is the second inmate to escape the facility in less than 3 weeks.
In your 17 Court Watch now, 3 people arrested in a drug bust and human trafficking sting in Oildale last week pled not guilty yesterday. 30-year-old Katisha May Coulter, 30-year-old Jashante Jaquim Howard, and 25-year-old Alan Moreno Harper de la Pena were all arrested on Wednesday afternoon in the bust on Hughes Avenue near Iris Street. All 3 defendants faced multiple human trafficking charges after 9 victims were pulled from a home there, including 2 who were under the age of 18. A reminder, there are resources available for victims of human trafficking. Call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888. Or locally, the Child Protective Services Hotline is 661-631-6011. You can also visit the Department of Human Services website, kcdhs.org.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers reports incredible progress on the Isabella Dam Safety Modification project. Construction on Phase 2 is expected to be complete later this year. It includes raising the main and auxiliary dams by 16 feet from the original crest elevations, along with modifications to the existing service spillway and construction of a new labyrinth weir and emergency spillway. These upgrades are designed to reduce the flood risk for those living and working downstream of the Isabella Reservoir in Kern County. 5:37 is our time now. Turning now to our 17 Court Watch. And a mother accused of child cruelty and multiple drug charges after her 9-month-old child suffered an overdose from fentanyl pleaded not guilty yesterday. 23-year-old Gabriella Cruz pleaded not guilty to those charges. The incident happened January 21st on Lake Street near Beale Avenue in East Bakersfield. The child was treated for exposure to the illicit drug and is expected to recover. Last year, more than 200 people died from fentanyl overdoses in Kern County.
A Bakersfield man arrested in connection with a homicide that happened back in October of 2020 appeared in court yesterday to be arraigned. 20-year-old Dion Henry Thomas was arrested on suspicion of killing 24-year-old Adam Garcia October 30th, 2020. Garcia's body was found in the road near the intersection of Edison Highway and Muller Road. Thomas appeared in court yesterday, but his arraignment was postponed. He's charged with first-degree murder along with multiple gun charges.
A local man has been arrested in connection with the shooting inside the Lone Oak Lounge in northwest Bakersfield. I want to show you some video from that night. The sheriff's office says 4 people were shot January 29th. Yesterday, deputies announced the arrest of 27-year-old Jesus Manarez on charges of attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and possession of a firearm by a felon. He is being held on $2 million bail and is due in court today. Fortunately, all 4 victims who were shot survived.
Meantime, ongoing indictments of incidents of vandalism and graffiti have city parks officials in Bakersfield considering a new approach. Park rangers, much like the county's park ranger program, but with important distinctions. 17's Robert Price has the story.
You'd think the responsibilities of a city recreation and parks employee would be pretty simple. Maintain the grounds, supervise events, book reservations. Sadly, some other chores are also at the top of the list. Monitor vandalism, clean up graffiti, coordinate repairs. Destruction and defacement are huge problems for the Bakersfield Recreation and Parks Department these days, to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars in damage each month. Last year, the city suffered about $150,000 in damage from vandalism. The lowlight of the year? Theft of the entire collection of bronze statues at Cancer Survivors Plaza in Beach Park, possibly one at a time over a period of months. A financial loss we're not even counting here. Well, Rec and Parks Director Rick Anthony has had enough. He has a plan to address the constant daily and nightly assault on public property by creating a new division within his department. Park rangers, perhaps 18 of them, to come from Measure N sales tax revenue.
We have to get something. We need our own enforcement arm. It's the most effective way to really protect your assets. So if we don't do something now to turn it around, this problem is just going to continue to grow.
The Park Ranger program would cost the city $1 million for startup and perhaps $3 million a year ongoing. Anthony says city park rangers would not be sworn law enforcement officers like county park rangers are. They'd have authority more like that of code enforcement officers, and they would not carry firearms. But they would work closely with Bakersfield police and other agencies to deter and apprehend vandals, patrolling the city's 61, soon-to-be 62 parks. And they'll need that backup because the problem is much bigger than just vandalism.
We have a safety problem. 2 major incidents since I've been here. Staff got assaulted in the park, my maintenance staff, just doing their job. Countless other times, you got staff members that are afraid to go into restrooms because of encampments, people threatening them. Citizens are saying that I just don't feel safe going into that park anymore. So that's a huge problem.
Kern County's park ranger unit currently has 17 members, all sworn officers. Even the north of the River Recreation District has park rangers, as do many California cities, even smaller ones.
If Anthony's park ranger proposal is approved by the city council and no date has been set, it might be a year before park rangers are actually in place. By that time, vandals may have done another $150,000 worth of damage. In Bakersfield, Robert Price, 17 News.
Welcome back. It is 5:51, and a supersized celebration was held yesterday for the Super Bowl champions. The LA Rams went to the happiest place on earth. Super Bowl 56 MVP Cooper Kupp, along with Aaron Donald and Matthew Stafford, all celebrated their big win at the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim. The trio threw Main Street on a Rams-themed float and were also able to hop on some rides after. The Rams' official victory parade will be held in the Exposition Park area of Los Angeles tomorrow. Meantime, the Hollywood sign is being converted to read Rams House. The transformation process began yesterday. The temporary installation will be displayed through the end of the day tomorrow. It is just one of the many ways the city will be celebrating the Super Bowl title.
So now that the Super Bowl's over, what happens to the leftover Bengals merchandise that was made in case they won? The nonprofit Good 360 says it will repurpose the hats, sweatshirts, and shirts by sending them around the world. The company won't disclose exactly where this batch of items will go, but it could be anywhere from Africa, the Middle East, or some regions in Asia or South America. They say the important thing is to put the items to good use and make sure they don't go to waste or end up in online auctions.
5:52 is our time now, and in entertainment news this morning, this year's Oscars will have 3 hosts instead of 1. The Hollywood Reporter says Amy Schumer, Regina Hall, and Wanda Sykes will all serve as hosts for the ceremony set for March 27th. The Oscars have not had a host since 2018 when Jimmy Kimmel filled the role. A year later, comedian Kevin Hart was supposed to host the award show, but withdrew after past homophobic posts and jokes began circulating online.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.